I finally get to talk about my favorite NBA franchise. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks, their fast 3-1 start, and their impressive win yesterday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Been very, very impressed so far by the Mavs, and that's not just my bias as a Mavs fan talking. I think as a whole, this is a team that looks very primed to make a run at, again, contending in the West, trying to make the NBA Finals and competing for an NBA championship this year in the NBA, and I'm very, very excited to discuss it. Impressive win yesterday for the Mavs, managing to beat the Timberwolves by 6 on the road in Minnesota, which is a very, very big win against a team that is likely to be one of the top contenders in the West, just like Dallas, and I'm very, very excited to just break down the team in this video. So, first things first. I think we start with Luka, as per normal, because Luka's that man. Come on now. I mean, Luka Doncic, he didn't have the best performance tonight, and honestly, didn't have the best performance yesterday either against the Jazz, but still managed to get the job done in both games. He was only 10 for 27, 1 for 8 from 3 tonight against the Timberwolves, although the 1-3 he made was a near half-court step-back bomb to seal the game, basically. Still had 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and was a very, very high-impact player, and he got hurt in the second quarter, managed to come back and play a solid second half nonetheless. Luka is just one of those guys, man, that at the end of the day is as good as anybody in the league. I think you could make an argument that Luka Doncic is the best player in basketball. Is that an argument I would make? My bias says yes. My mind probably says no. I think I still lean Jokic. But he is as good as pretty much anybody in basketball, one of the most electric playmakers and scorers that the sport has ever seen in terms of just pure ability to put the ball in the bucket with consistency, and is just as good as anybody in basketball as a playmaker, passer, and scorer, incredible finisher, elite footwork, as good as it gets. And I think when you have a guy like Luka, you are automatically in position to compete at any time for anything. Now, tonight, the star was Kyrie Irving. I mean, he went 13 of 23, 6-8 from 3, 35 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Just an exceptional performance by Kyrie as really the main driving force behind this win. He was exceptional again against a tough Minnesota team that admittedly has not been the same defensively to start the year, but was very, very impressed by Kyrie's ability to pick up the slack when Luka was having a bit of an off night and lead us to victory. And I think the fact that the Mavs have two guys in Kyrie and Luka who have the ability to carry an offense on any given night, and when they're both going, I mean, this is just a team that you have good luck stopping these guys. When both those guys are going at a high level, this is an offense that is nearly unstoppable in a lot of different ways. And outside of that, obviously, adding Klay Thompson is as big of an addition as I think nearly any NBA team made this offseason. And yes, I know this was kind of a much debated addition in the offseason, but it looks, at least right now, as though Klay was the perfect guy to add to the mix, because I think Klay is in a position right now where he has less expected of him as a player than he has ever had at any point in his career besides maybe his rookie year. Klay is in a position where his job is to defend to the best of his capabilities, which again, he's not the defender he used to be, but he's not a bad defender. And then that combined with just shoot the crap out of the ball, which he's always been an exceptional shooter, shooting over 40% from the three-point line this year, career 41% three-point shooter, one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. We know how great of a shooter Klay is, and he's still got it as a shooter. He is a guy who you just cannot leave open. Degree of difficulty on his shot making is nearly unmatched. I mean, he is just the type of guy who provides incredible and very crucial spacing to a Mavs team that realistically, the biggest reason they lost relatively uncompetitively in the finals is because of their inability to make shots in close games. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, all games that very easily could have swung the Mavs' way instead of the Celtics if they had made wide open shots. And adding a guy like Klay to the mix, who is as good as any shooter pretty much in the history of the sport, is the perfect addition to this team because you just cannot help off of him, and he creates so much more space for guys like Luka and Kyrie to operate. So I think adding Klay to the mix is as good as it gets for the Mavs. And outside of that, the beautiful thing about this Mavs team, and the best thing that I am loving about this squad so far, is the amount of depth they have outside of that perceived big three of Kyrie, Luka, and Klay. One of the very best center duos in the entire league in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, both elite level athletes who are great rim runners, great rim protectors, play with a lot of hustle and a lot of intensity, good rebounders, just overall high effort, high energy bigs who do a lot of beautiful things. I truly believe Derek Lively very much has the capability to develop into an all-star caliber player in his career. And while Daniel Gafford may not have that type of upside or ceiling at this point in his career, he is still as solid as it gets as a very, very dominant inside big. And while he's not going to be putting up 24 points and 16 rebounds a game, he doesn't need to on this roster. He's going to be a high effort, high energy guy who provides a lot of rebound and a lot of defense, runs the floor hard, and makes things happen on the court. And he's also one of the more efficient bigs in the game, has real touch around the rim. And I think last season he set a record, was second all time to Wilt freaking Chamberlain in consecutive field goals made. He is one of the more efficient rim runners and finishers around the rim of any big in the league. And I think with him being realistically, even though he's starting your second big, provides a big man rotation that very few teams in the league can even hope to match with the amount of athleticism, versatility, and effort that they play with on both ends of the court. And so it's a beautiful center duo for the Mavs that I think is key to their success, especially on the defensive end of the court. And honestly, I really like PJ Washington. I know there's inconsistencies with him. He tries to do too much with the ball in his hands sometimes. There are things about PJ Washington that frustrate me as a Mavs fan. He has down nights where I'm just like, dude, you're not a point guard. Stop trying to be a point guard. Stop trying to be a primary scorer. Relax. But then he has nights like tonight where he's 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Pretty good defensively. High effort, high energy player. That much is true. And while he will make mistakes, he's still a very, very important contributor on this team, and a guy who, again, started on a finals team last year, provides enough floor spacing to be a threat from the outside. He's not the best shooter in the world, but he's good enough that, again, he's a threat. And when he's left open, more often than not, he will make you pay. So PJ Washington at the 4, if he's your 5th or 6th best player, that's a great spot to be, and that's the spot that the Mavs are in right now, where he does not have to be the best or second best or even third best guy on the court at any time. And you combine that with bench pieces like a Najee Marshall, who's a new addition, has not played great to start off the season, but was an over 40% three-point shooter on open catch-and-shoot threes last season. High percentage corner three-point shooter. Very, very high-energy, hard-nosed defender. Great point of attack defender. Another guy who can really come in and contribute in whatever way you need him to contribute. He can guard bigs. He can compete on the perimeter. We saw it tonight against guys like Julius Randle and Naz Reid, but he's also got the switchability and versatility to step out on an Anthony Edwards if need be. And yes, Ant was insane in the first quarter. He had 24 of his 37 points in the first quarter, but after that first quarter, the Mavs did a great job of neutralizing him and slowing him down for the most part and making him work for everything he got. And I think that, again, is a huge piece of the success of this Mavs team, is that they have enough defensively, especially if Klay is looking to be a bit improved defensively from last year, which looks to be the case so far, to where I have no real doubts about their ability to at least slow down top-tier opposing scores when they need to. And with an offense as good as this Mavs offense is going to be, that's good enough. If they're a borderline top 10 defensive team in the league, their offense is going to make sure they are very much in contention. So really nice 3-1 start for the Mavs. The one loss they had against the Suns was a game in which realistically, I think the main reason they lost is because they missed a lot of open shots, plain and simple. And that's going to happen. You're not going to win every game. This team isn't going to go 73-9, but they are a team that very much could challenge for high 50s wins, a 2 seed or so in the West, and be as good a team as pretty much anybody in basketball except for maybe the Celtics and the Thunder. But I see no reason why they can't give those types of teams a serious series. And I'm not worried about the Celtics anyway at this point. They're in the Eastern Conference. Like, as a Mavs fan, the goal right now is to be the best team in the West, and realistically, they're probably not going to finish with the best record in the West, but they'll be in the running, and I think there's no team in the West that this Mavs squad isn't capable of beating, because I think, again, they have the versatility to do so. And even guys like Quentin Grimes, Jaden Hardy, Spencer Dinwiddie, coming off the bench, guys like that who provide the depth, versatility, and floor spacing that you need are really, really nice pieces to add into the mix. Jaden Hardy has emerged and continues to emerge as a high-level scorer who is improving defensively as well. And in spots of need, he's a guy who can come in and give you buckets off the bench. Quentin Grimes, honestly, in my opinion, one of the better pure 3-and-D type players in basketball, as strong of a take as that may seem. If he shoots the 3-ball at a high level, he's one of the better point of attack defenders, certainly on this team, but I would say one of the better ones in the NBA. And I truly believe that he is another guy who may only play 15 minutes a night, but in those 15 minutes is going to be a high-level catch-and-shoot shooter, and a high-level defender, and that's all he needs to do. Spencer Dinwiddie provides that veteran presence. He's always been good in Dallas. This is his second stint in Dallas. He was a big part of the success of this Mavs roster in 2021, I believe, or was it 22? I think it was the 21-22 season when they traded KP, got Dinwiddie at the deadline, and Dinwiddie was a big part of their Western Conference Finals run that year. While he's not at this point in his career a guy who's going to be a 30-minute per game starting PG at any level in the NBA, he's another piece who, if he comes off the bench in lower minutes, is going to play his role, and I think play it pretty well. And that's not even to mention a young guy like Olivier Maxence Prosper. Omax has not played much, but has in the G League proven himself to be his own hard-level defender, or hard-nosed defender, solid three-point shooter, all that type of stuff. Dante Exum likely won't be back for a few months, but he was a revelation last year for the Mavs, coming out of not nowhere, but finally coming back from Europe, back to the NBA, and for the first time in his career really finding a defined role and an effective role on a team, and he's going to be a really nice piece to have off the bench. I think this Mavs team has enough guys to deal with injuries when they pop up, which is important, and I think to sustain winning ways throughout the season as a well-coached, high-quality basketball team that is going to be as good as any in the West. So the Mavs are scary, and as a Mavs fan, that is a very exciting spot to be. I cannot wait to watch another 78 games of this basketball team because they look phenomenal. With that being said, that is going to do it for this video. Hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and I will be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.